Neon Genesis Evangelion. Years ago, I tried to get into Neon Genesis Evangelion. It seemed like one of those anime that you have to watch to be an anime fan kind of thing. And while I don't think that is true anymore, like you can watch whatever and just be like, I watched this one anime, it's pretty niche. And I liked it. Like, I think you can watch anything and be an anime fan now. Like, I don't stick with that mindset anymore. But felt like one of those things that I had to watch. And I got like, I think 18 episodes in or less. I'm foggy on the memory now, but I got like a decent chunk through. And for whatever reason, I just stopped. And I don't remember what it was, but I think I do now. Because recently I rewatched most of those episodes and then continued on with a friend, Lavia Ray. Go watch the channel with the podcasts I'm featured in. I'm gonna shill it since I've talked about shit that's in there. I'm gonna shill it. Go over there, subscribe to that guy. He's awesome. Anyway, we finished the rest of it, and I remembered why I had the issues that I did, why I left it. And it's because it just fell off. And I never got to the end. I got to like past halfway, where it started to get really edgy and just needlessly, not even edgy, but it started to get really depressing because the creator apparently had depression. And you can tell that seeped into the story itself because it just went nuts, and not even in like a good way. I love Gen Urobuchi. He has a way of making his dark stories just feel satisfying, where there's a reason for the pain, there's a reason for the punishment, there's a reason for these characters to be suffering. And maybe it's none of that, but it's not there for no reason. It's not purposeless, it's not for shock value, it fits in the story well. I can't name a single part that didn't feel just mean-spirited, besides the third Magica Madoka film that I'm going to pretend does not exist, because why would you want to ruin the first series ending? What the fuck was that shit? And in most cases in his stories, there's this hopeful rainbow at the end. Not always the case, but that's most of the times. At least most of his works I've seen. But in Evangelion, it's just a misery torture porn fest, and it's just not fun in the slightest. It feels like some of the characters, when they have their hallucinogen mind fuckery, where they talk to the ghost illusion versions of how they perceive people bullshit, like where it feels like they're gonna have a character arc, like it doesn't go anywhere. Like Shinji's still Shinji, which is fine because Shinji's just your average boy and he's not perfect, and I don't know where the hate comes from Shinji. He is a very reasonable, grounded, realistic depiction of how someone would be in that situation. So fuck people who think Shinji's awful. You're an asshole. The only thing I really wanted of Shinji is to have a little bit more backbone. I mean, you see glimpses of this when he does argue with Asuka sometimes, but it just kind of becomes the rare exception and not the norm, and I wish it became the norm over time if he were to grow as a character, which unfortunately doesn't happen, and he just declines into a sadder, depressed, more miserable version of himself, which is realistic, but not the direction I wish they went. But like Asuka like begs for an arc in this show, and she never gets it, and that's just why she's such an awful bitch, and it feels like she should become nicer, but she doesn't, and it's awful. I don't like tsunderes anyway. They're like one of the most annoying tropey characters, unless you do them right, which is very rare. And I don't have any immediate examples unless I edit this later, but Asuka is just awful. Rei is such a nothing character because she only exists to just stand there. Little editor's note this time here, verbalized. I basically go on for like 3 minutes about how much of a nothing character Rei is, about how much she's a plank of wood and she only exists to sell Dakimakura pillows. So I'm gonna try and keep this as short and concise as possible. She literally adds nothing besides being another Ava pilot. I don't know, fucking waifu bait. Rei barely adds anything, and though there are glimmers of something there with her, they never go anywhere. There are like moments where she shows humanity and like some kind of glimmers of, hey, maybe she can grow as a person and become someone and not just like this emotionless robot, and they go nowhere. She just ends up going back to that silently, and it's just shit. That's what it is. And I think it says something when the version of Rei that's supposed to be a middle finger towards audiences that like slice of life anime. I don't know if that's true or a fan theory of like what the writer was going through. So apparently the writer hated his audience at one point because they only cared about like generic slice of life fun shows and like harem.
I don't know the full context, and I don't even know if that's true or not. It's something that I've heard. Maybe it's something I'll have to look into, but that I don't care enough to do that right now. Evangelion burnt me. But yeah, the Rey we see there is a fun character that I actually would want to spend time with, because the Rey we get in the show is just fucking boring.
Plank of wood with lost potential of what could have been. Just a cherry on the shit sandwich that is Rey's existence is that even the writer forgot she was even in the fucking show to begin with. And when he gave her that glimmer of hope that, wow, this character might be able to start to develop already, the writer immediately regretted it and cursed after the fact. And it's funny because after that episode, we see Rey going back to her boring, robotic, uninteresting, painful self. And it's like, my guy, why did you do this? You literally just shot yourself in the foot. Just keep moving forward. Stop. Such a shame.
So, wow, great job. Yay. I'll link that article below.
The first half of the show is just so good, and it's just a tragedy that the second half is just so bad, because I feel like the second half should have been like this part where all the characters have been together for a while now, start to grow closer as friends, and I'm not asking for them to save the world by the end of the season, but at least just come together and grow as people. Wherever the ending goes, that's a different thing, but like it just spirals down into nothing, and it's just stupid. It's just a shame, because you can see a lot of potential in this series, and it just feels uncapitalized and wasted for torture porn. And that leads me into the movie End of Evangelion. This movie is literally just torture porn. It is over an hour of just characters being killed and crying and drama and suffering. And it's just not fun. The animation is beautiful. That is literally the only reason why this isn't a 1 out of 10. It's because the animation is stunning until like the last 20 minutes, but we'll ignore that because the last, the previous part is just so good. But yeah, the animation is just visual eye candy, even if it's spent on characters being massacred. Going into this, I kind of had a feeling that there would be no happy ending. I've seen the memes of the Iron Lung Red Ocean shit. Current day reference, lol. So I kind of knew that everything would go bad, but it was just seeing how we got to that point. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm still kind of unsatisfied how we got to that point. If it were me and I was writing this, like if I had no choice, like, hey Derp, you gotta continue on from the last season. It's like, wait, what? I can't retcon all of this and just go back to the midpoint where it was a good show. It's like, nope, you gotta finish this grim dark shit now. It's like, fuck me, I guess. Yeah, it's like, you gotta make sure everyone dies at the end of something. It's like, my idea would be Shinji, Asuka, Rey, by this point, would have grown to become like good friends, have each other's backs, whatever. Like they've grown together and they've got each other's backs kind of thing. And this movie should have been their final stand as friends as they fight to save the world as best they can. Unfortunately, one by one being taken out, and maybe with Shinji being like the last one. And it's like this sad thing as he like looks at the sun or something and sees all the remains of his friends around him. And it's just like, I tried so hard kind of thing. It's like, I'm so sorry everyone. Like, just like this tragic final stand just to protect the world, and he fails. Like, it's still miserable, but like compared to what we got, I think that would have been not as shit. It would still be bad. I would not choose to continue on from that point. I would rather retcon all of it and go back. But if I had to, that would have been what I would have done. And what would you have done if you were familiar with Evangelion? Tell me below. My headcanon for this film is that, I know it's a cop-out cringe kind of like creepypasta bullshit take, but my headcanon for this entire film is that it takes place in Shinji's post-nut depression hallucination. Like, after the hospital scene, it's all in his head, and then he just wakes up in bed, like, the day later. Or maybe that's in his head, too. That's Lavry's take. It's stupid. It's such a stupid movie. It just shits all over those, like, first 12, 15 episodes. I'm trying to remember, but, you know, it's just a shame. I think Evangelion has such a cool concept and such a cool cast of characters and the world building, all this stuff, and it just wasted on such a grim, dark, boring slog of suffering. It's not even fun kind. Generabuchi could fix it.